Hello there and good morning. It's Phil Thatch, and once again, I'm here on the gravel road that leads to the Summit Knobs Equestrian Trail, and I'm back using my favorite gear, the Nikon Z8 and their 600 PF lens. Love this lens. Started out, I'm almost all the way to the end of this little gravel road. Usually I can get something towards the early parts, but I didn't today. I came to this spot right here where I am, and I found a prairie warbler and got just a couple of shots of it. Here's the prairie warbler. I love to get photographs of these, and I often do. It makes me happy. Every shot today will be 600 millimeters on the prime lens. They'll all be wide open at 6.3, and this prairie warbler shot is 1/250th of a second and ISO 2000. Here's the next prairie warbler shot in this section, and it has the same settings, 1/250th of a second and ISO 2000. Happy to see the prairie warbler to get my day started. After I got finished making shots of the prairie warbler, I heard all sorts of birds. I heard a white-eyed vireo, never saw it. Actually, I did see it, but it was way, way back, so I didn't get a shot. And then I heard a summer tanager, which I thought surely I'm going to get a shot of it because it was really calling, but it never came by. But finally, I got a yellow-breasted chat, and probably my best yellow-breasted chat photos of the year so far. So let's take a look at the yellow-breasted chat photos made with the Z8 and the 600 PF. I slowed my shutter speed down just a little bit from 1/250th to 1/200th of a second after I got the prairie warbler shots. And here's the yellow-breasted chat. Now this is how I normally photograph a yellow-breasted chat. They're always deep in the thicket. There's usually something in front of the bird. And I thought I would share this first shot with you just to kind of give you an idea of what a normal yellow-breasted chat shot is like for me. This is 1/200th of a second and 2500 ISO. But the yellow-breasted chat moved into this mimosa tree with nothing blocking it. So I was thrilled to get these shots. I'm still at 1/200th of a second. This one is 900 ISO. This one is at 1000 ISO, still on the same perch. Here's another one at 900 ISO, same perch, same settings, 1/200th of a second and 900 ISO of the beautiful, unobstructed yellow-breasted chat. Now we've changed directions on that same perch, still at 1/200th of a second, 1000 ISO for this one, 1000 ISO for this one as well. Now the chat's starting to sing a little bit. I like the way they puff their throat up when they're about to sing. This one's 900 ISO. And now we're done singing and kind of taking a look at the photographer over there. 900 ISO for this one. We've changed directions again on that same perch still, and 900 ISO still. Another shot on the mimosa tree at 900 ISO. And I think I've mentioned before on the channel about the focus system that I use with my Z8. I make a custom box, and you can make the custom box shaped however you want to on the Z8. And I've got it the smallest width and the smallest height. It looks like single point, except instead of like single point, when you have it set on single point, it doesn't do eye detect. But when you do the custom box in its smallest, then it does eye detect. So if there's a bird in a thicket, I can put that focus point on the bird through the thicket, and once it finds the bird, I'll put it like on its chest. It'll say, hey, that's a bird, and then it'll move, it'll focus on the bird's eye. Even if I've got my little square a little bit off the eye, it'll move the focus point to the eye. It works really great. Highly recommend trying that. The smallest custom box. You can make the custom box as tall or as wide as you want, and I set mine up to be minimum height, minimum width, and then I turn on bird eye detect autofocus, and it is dynamite for this. Now we're on a completely different perch, and the yellow-breasted chat has its throat puffed up to sing. This is still 1/200th of a second and 1100 ISO. Same perch, same settings. Still got its throat puffed up a little bit, but not as much as in the previous shot. Here's another shot on that same perch, and this is much closer. When I go 100%, you can see it's not cropped very much on this 4K monitor. Another shot on that same perch. This one's 1000 ISO. And here's another one at 1000 ISO. I just picked out my favorites from this burst. Now the yellow-breasted chat is looking right at us in this 1000 ISO shot. All of these are 1/200th of a second, and of course 600 millimeters and wide open at 6.3. The chat is singing again at 1100 ISO on that perch that I'm really fond of. Another shot on that same perch. This one's 1100 ISO. And here's one more on that perch. The only thing I don't like about this perch is this particular branch right here that's out of focus in the background is kind of distracting in a number of these shots. Other than that, I'm thrilled with this particular perch. Another pose on that same perch at 1000 ISO. And now the bird's just starting to sing at 1000 ISO on the same perch. Now the yellow-breasted chat has flown over to a different tree. This is a redbud, I believe. And this is still 1/200th of a second, 1100 ISO. One last shot on the redbud tree, still 1100 ISO, 1/200th of a second. What a great morning to photograph this beautiful yellow-breasted chat. Second verse, same as the first. I saw another prairie warbler just for a second. I may not even have a shot to show you. And then I saw the yellow-breasted chat again. I didn't get as many or as good shots as the first time, but I saw the same two birds again, and I'm in the same location. I've moved the car maybe 7 feet forward, and that's it. Here's the prairie warbler again. They're in the thicket, and this is 600 millimeters f6.3. I'm still at 1/200th of a second and ISO 640. Here's another shot in the same spot with the same settings, 1/200th of a second and ISO 640 of the beautiful prairie warbler. And now the prairie warbler is looking right at us, and we're still at 1/200th of a second and 640 ISO. Here's the yellow-breasted chat again. This is still 1/200th of a second. Not much light in this location. This is 2000 ISO, and you can see this is a redbud tree. I love this pose in that same redbud tree at 1/200th of a second and 2000 ISO. It almost reminds me of a really big Carolina wren. They often lean their head down and poke their tail straight up like that. Really fond of this shot. I just got a photograph of a bird that I photograph all the time at home. Super, super, super common, but I don't think I've ever seen it here at the Summit Knobs Equestrian Trail, and it's a house finch, a male house finch. Just got a couple shots of it. I actually got out of the car and climbed across this ditch that's right in front of me and up to the very edge of this field and made the shot, and then I spooked it. But anyway, a house finch. Here's the male house finch there at 1/200th of a second and 800 ISO. This is a wide open 6.3 shot. I just got my first of season blue grosbeak. It was a long way away, about 75 feet, according to the distance meter on my Z8. But I was happy to get it. It's not going to be a great shot, obviously, at that distance, but let's take a look at my first of season blue grosbeak. My first of season blue grosbeak, long way away and heavily cropped and still small in the frame. This is 1/320th of a second and ISO 450. They're a very similar color to the indigo bunting, which I've photographed earlier this spring. The biggest difference is the beak has a different shape, and there's some color here on the wing that the indigo bunting does not have. I'm in a slightly different location now, and from this location, I just bagged another prairie warbler. Not the greatest shot in the world, I don't think, but I definitely got at least one that should be presentable. Let's take a look. Here's a prairie warbler shot. I love these. I've got a couple with a honeysuckle bloom in the shot. This is 1/400th of a second and ISO 640. Here's another one with the honeysuckle bloom in the shot with the prairie warbler. Same settings, 1/400th and ISO 640. This is on the same perch, but with the bird face the other way, I cropped it differently, which had me removing the honeysuckle from the shot. Same settings though, 1/400th of a second and ISO 640. Beautiful prairie warbler. I'm back at the first spot that I stopped at this morning where I got all those yellow-breasted chat photos. And I've been really struggling to get white-eye Vero recently, but I got one. Last several times I've come out here, I've heard lots and lots of them and haven't been able to get a single shot, and I've heard them all day today. And one just hopped into a bush right in front of me, maybe 15 feet away, and very happy to see a white-eye Vireo. I got a bunch of them early in the spring in March, but now it is May, gosh, what is it, May 7th or so? And I got another one. And now it's my first white-eyed Vireo that I've gotten in a few weeks. Got a lot of these early in the season, but now on May the 8th, not seeing them as often. 1/400th of a second, 900 ISO, still wide open at 6.3. Here's another shot a little bit closer. This perch is 1/400th of a second and 1100 ISO. I just love their white eye, and this area that circles the eye almost looks like eyeliner with its dark color. Really love that. And I think I got one more. Yes, one more shot on that same perch. Same settings, 1/400th of a second and 1100 ISO of the white-eyed Vero. Well, this is definitely yellow-breasted chat day. I'm still in that same spot where I just got the white-eyed Vireo and where I got yellow-breasted chat earlier this morning. And I got another yellow-breasted chat. This is a great little spot right here on the side of the road, on the gravel road that leads to the Summit Knobs Equestrian Trail. Here's another yellow-breasted chat in the mimosa tree. This is 1/400th of a second and 900 ISO. I don't think this is as good as the shots from earlier in the morning, but I was still happy to see the yellow-breasted chat again. Maybe it's yellow bird day. I got the prairie warbler again in this same location. Just a beautiful little bird, maybe my favorite bird of spring. Very reliable location for prairie warblers. The gravel road that leads to the Summit Knobs Equestrian Trail is. And here's the last shot of the day. It is the prairie warbler in the thicket. This is 1/400th of a second and ISO 1250. I didn't crop this one very much because I liked the balance of this weed over here and this one over here. But if I go 100%, you can see lots of detail on the beautiful prairie warbler. Well, thanks for joining me today here at the Summit Knobs Equestrian Trail. I'm actually on the equestrian trail now. I decided to walk over to the beginning of the trail to make my bye-bye clip. It's been a great morning here. I've seen a lot of cool stuff. Got a lot of pretty good pictures. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, reach down, hit the thumbs up button. I always enjoy using my Nikon Z8, and I love that 600 PF lens. If you can afford one, I highly recommend picking one up. You'll definitely get your money's worth out of it. It's so sharp, so nice. I've seen 3 other photographers here this morning. There's 2 still here. My friend Forrest was here earlier this morning, and we just waved. We didn't stop and talk. I think he could tell I was deep into it when he drove by. But this is a pretty good spot for bird photography. I highly recommend coming if you live in the greater Chattanooga area, or even if you're just passing by. This is a great place for spring bird photography. Sometimes it's pretty good in the fall too, but I think it's better in the spring. And have a great day. Bye-bye.